Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 18. Sea breeze. The cell phone spiraled down, fell in the mud and got half stuck in there as it sank slowly. Zhi Xiaoduo's mind flashed with the joke about being in the bathroom and the cell phone falling into the pit just as someone called, which caused the cell phone to vibrate with the call as it slowly sank down. Not exactly what am I thinking? The monster has woken you up. Zhi Xiaoduo was frightened out of his wits, but the facts of the situation didn't allow him to do any more complicated thinking. With the painful blast to his eardrums, the world spun in front of Zhi Xiaoduo's eyes. The monster rushed to the ladder, while Xiang Cheng let go and flew down. He spun in the air and pulled at the zipper of his duffel bag. As soon as his head was pointing down at the ground, half a bag of soybeans flew out. Xiang Cheng then grabbed at a corner of the Ziploc bag with his fingers and yanked at it in mid-air. With a hwala sound, the soybeans scattered all across the sky. Zhi Xiaoduo looked down and just saw Xiang Cheng running quickly along the wall. The monster slammed its head into the wall, and Xiang Cheng flipped over and seemed to roar out an incantation. Then, all across the sky, the soybeans shot out like a meteor shower, all emitting golden light and bouncing around in the air. As soon as Xiang Cheng landed, he ran wildly over to his cell phone, put it in his pants pocket, and turned to face the monster, who roared ferociously and set off a hurricane. Zhi Xiaoduo got a clear view of the entire monster. It had a hideous head, its upper and lower tusks were nearly 1 meter long, and its whole body was covered with black scales. Its 4 feet were planted on the ground, while its tusks kept opening and closing like a sharp guillotine. Its claws shone with cold light, and many scales had fallen off and were oozing with black blood. It had a dragon-like body, which was a good 5 or 6 meters long. Its tail was a fish's tail, and it also had gleaming armored fins on both sides of its body. When it fanned them out, it seemed as if they could slice Xiang Cheng in half at any time. It turned around, wanting to chase Xiang Cheng, and it was then that Zhi Xiaoduo discovered that one of its eyes had already been blinded and the other eye was the green light he had just seen. What was this? Where had he seen it before? Zhi Xiaoduo simply could not remember, and his memory was a mess, even more so because it had been disturbed by the scene of Xiang Cheng capturing the geisha last time. In a flash, he remembered the monster on the printed notice he saw in Yulan Lane. It was very similar, but it wasn't exactly the same. What was it called? Chiwen. Yes. It was as Chiwen. But why? What were its weaknesses? Could he help Xiang Cheng? Zhi Xiaoduo took out his cell phone and started up Baidu. Just Baidu it? Then you will know. However, there was no signal in the sewer. The Chiwen stopped and suddenly raised its head. It let out a long and continuous roar, which echoed in the hollow pipe. Xiang Cheng couldn't cast any more spells, so he pulled out the Yao imprisonment banner from the bag and shook it open in the air. In an instant, the geisha flew out of the Yao imprisonment banner and screeched fiercely. Zhi Xiaoduo's eardrums nearly ruptured at that, and the screams of 2 monsters almost made him want to vomit blood. However, Xiang Cheng seemed to be interfering with its screeching. Then the geisha slammed into things everywhere, as if it was trying to escape. Xiang Cheng pulled the Yao imprisonment banner back, tightening it around the geisha's chest and belly, and with a leap, he rushed onto the back of the geisha. The geisha chaotically pounced and slammed into things, while Xiang Cheng roared, "Rise!" Xiang Cheng drove the geisha in a circle and flew to the cave where Zhi Xiaoduo was hiding. The screeching of the Chiwen was getting louder and louder, and Zhi Xiaoduo looked up anxiously and saw Xiang Cheng shouting to him frantically. At the same time, the waterways in all directions hummed and vibrated, as if something was rapidly approaching the central area along the pipeline. What? Zhi Xiaoduo couldn't hear. Their conversation was being covered up by the howling of the Chiwen. Xiang Cheng mouthed out, "Jump!" Zhi Xiaoduo recovered his senses, quickly sprung up, and jumped down. As soon as Zhi Xiaoduo jumped, While his body was suspended in mid-air, the 12 pipes behind him all spewed black mud at the same time, and thousands of small black monsters rushed out. They were like rotten monkeys, and in mid-air, they viciously clawed at Zhi Xiaoduo. Sigui, radiant with silver light, suddenly burst out from Zhi Xiaoduo's hood. It gracefully circled around him, scattering light motes around as it formed a circle of light, blocking all the black water monkeys. Xiang Cheng grabbed Zhi Xiaoduo with one hand, and they spun in mid-air. Xiang Cheng kicked at the geish's back and the geish wailed as it fell to the ground. Zhi Xiaoduo started yelling and Xiang Cheng shook out the Yao imprisonment banner again and captured the geish again. The scene was totally chaotic, and the Chiwen stopped shrieking as an army of water monkeys large enough to topple the mountains and overturn the seas rushed towards them. Xiang Cheng pushed Zhi Xiaoduo behind the wall and stood with his hands together. His left palm was flat, and he pointed his index and middle fingers towards the sky, letting out a fierce roar. The scattered soybeans started flying with a shua, and flashes of golden light crisscrossing as each soybean, flashing with the light of the array, shot around crazily. Zhi Xiaoduo's eyes were dazzled, and he was so excited that he started to shout. As soon as the water monkeys rushed up to them, they were shot through by the glowing golden beams, wailing as they turned into smoke. As Xiang Cheng's hands separated again, hundreds of golden beams shot out in unison, like a meteor shower, whirling around and filling the whole space. As soon as the scattering beams spell was released and they lost their protection, Xiang Cheng took out the demon-subduing staff and extended it. In the blink of an eye, the Chiwen opened its terrifying maw and pounced at the two of them. Xiang Cheng was undaunted as he held Zhi Xiaoduo in his left hand and the demon-subduing staff in his right. The staff section glowed with a bright light. The Chiwen's neck directly slammed into the demon-subduing staff, and the weight of 1,000 jin pushed down on it. Xiang Cheng suddenly kicked back. With his feet against the wall, he was trying his utmost to support the weight of this behemoth, and his body bowed into an arc. Zhi Xiaoduo. Everything had happened too fast. Zhi Xiaoduo pretty much didn't have any time to react. At that moment, the Chiwen let out a tsunami-like roar at the two of them. It opened up its gullet and stretched out its thrashing inner tongue. Attached to the tip of the inner tongue was a black-colored person who had scarred wounds across their skin like beads on a necklace. Half of that person's body was connected to the tongue of the Chiwen, as if it was a monster that appeared in its mouth. Zhi Xiaoduo absolutely couldn't have imagined this appearance and was immediately terror-stricken. Ah! Zhi Xiaoduo finally cried out. The person in the Chiwen's mouth was badly mutilated, their face and head teeming with scars. They reached out their hands and grabbed at Xiang Cheng's head. Zhi Xiaoduo rushed forward and blocked those hands. But at the moment of contact, the pupil of the Chiwen's remaining left eye suddenly contracted into a straight slit. With a loud crash, the Chiwen kicked back strongly and rolled its menacing bulk around on the ground, its left eye pinned on Zhi Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng wanted to chase after it, however the Chiwen, carrying the demon-subduing staff stuck in its neck, burrowed straight into the drainage pipe. In the blink of an eye, the tens of thousands of water monkeys disappeared with the Chiwen. The passage became tranquil and sludge was everywhere, as if nothing had happened. Lady Gaga's voice was still echoing, "Gaga, oh la la la." Xiang Cheng fumbled for his cell phone and turned off the music. Zhi Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng. Crap. Zhi Xiaoduo returned to his senses and cried out, "The demon-subduing staff. Don't chase after it." Xiang Cheng said, "We have already found the real master now." Zhi Xiaoduo pretty much had no strength left in his body. Xiang Cheng bent over and said, "I'll carry you." Zhi Xiaoduo didn't try to be polite, just lying down on Xiang Cheng's back. Xiang Cheng walked over to the opening of the pipe where the Chiwen had escaped from, looked out, and made sure there was no danger. Only then did he walk along the pipe and slowly leave, with Zhi Xiaoduo still on his back. They were covered in dirty and smelly sludge from head to toe. Xiang Cheng walked slowly along the waterway. It just rushed out like this, Won't it hurt people? No, it's almost dawn. The sun will weaken its magic. Then what if it comes out at night again? It can't survive until night. As long as it is forced out, the exorcism committee will encircle and suppress it. But what if it hides? The demon subduing staff is nailed to its body, and I also embedded a symbol in its body, so it's very easy to find its whereabouts. Xiang Cheng replied. You're not going to gather up your soybeans? Zhi Xiaoduo asked another question. What are you going to do the next time you scatter beans to create soldiers? I'll buy another half jin. Xiang Cheng replied, bean soldiers can only be used once. The more soybeans there are, the more powerful they are. Zhi Xiaoduo asked curiously. N. Xiang Cheng replied. Then why not buy a whole sack and carry it around while subduing Yao? Xiang Cheng laughed but didn't look back. Instead looked up at the end of the passage, walking forward slowly. There was a bright light there. Because I can't carry that. Xiang Cheng said. Zhi Xiaoduo started laughing. Xiang Cheng let out a sigh and said, hold on tight, I'll show you a trick. Zhi Xiaoduo put his arms around Xiang Cheng's neck and lay against his back. Xiang Cheng freed up a hand and made a gesture of recalling things back in the air. The golden beans shone with a dazzling light, just like a golden meteor shower in the passage as they caught up to the two of them. Wow! Zhi Xiaoduo saw the golden beans twinkling like stars and whirling around them. Xiang Cheng looked at Zhi Xiaoduo's eyes, chuckled, then spread out his hand. The soybeans flew one by one into his hands, gathered together and then poured back into the bag. You were joking with me. Zhi Xiaoduo said. Beans are very expensive. Xiang Cheng said, I'll give you one as a souvenir next time. Zhi Xiaoduo sighed. Xiang Cheng said, it was hard on you today. I shouldn't have brought you out but I was worried about leaving you at home. Fortunately, you came, and we figured out the whereabouts of that guy. It's fine, you only came here to protect me. Zhi Xiaoduo knew that this memory would be erased sooner or later. It seemed like after the exorcism was done, they would still give him the snuff bottle to smell but he didn't say anything about it. Even if he said anything, it would be no use, so this was fine but. For now, at least, it was wonderful. The passage lit up gradually and it was already morning. The two of them were filthy and standing at the outlet of the Pearl River. Xiang Cheng had Zhi Xiaoduo cling tightly to his back as he climbed up the access ladder. Outside Haizu Square, there were elderly men and women doing morning exercises everywhere. Seeing two foul-smelling people crawl out, they were so scared they nearly had heart attacks. Sorry. Zhi Xiaoduo and Xiang Cheng got into the subway car, and everyone automatically backed 10 meters away from them. Xiang Cheng looked at Zhi Xiaoduo with a face streaked with sludge and just helplessly shook his head. Zhi Xiaoduo was a little depressed. Anyhow, we more or less just saved the whole world. We just stink a bit. Don't be like this, everyone. Xiang Cheng lowered his head and sent a text message to Kuang Desheng. Zhi Xiaoduo suddenly remembered the exorcism committee's prohibition and whispered, we scared it away but directorly won't punish you ba. Xiang Cheng hesitated for a moment, and in the end didn't send the text message. An idea flashed in Zhi Xiaoduo's head, and he said, I've got it. At 8 o'clock, a red sun shone over the Pearl River, people came and went on both sides of the strait and ships whistled away. At the very bottom of the river, the Chiwen rolled around painfully. With the buzzing of the engines, it emitted black smoke. However, with its actions, the demon-subduing staff became embedded deeper and deeper. With a suppressed roar, the Chiwen opened its mouth. Inside its maw, the monster-like person shot out along the undercurrent of the waters, letting out bubbles and swimming up the river. An hour later, in Wang Ren's studio's conference room. Wang Ren. Zhi Xiaoduo. Wang Ren, Zhi Xiaoduo, what kind of interesting activities did you guys play at last night? You guys' tastes are too heavy ba. Zhiziaduo, it's a long story, and I'll tell you later. Let Xiang Cheng sign the contract first. Wang Ren's HR person signed a contract with Xiang Cheng and copied his ID, while Zhiziaduo nagged Wang Ren to help him get a certificate. Wang Ren said, "Hey, Mola, have you become mentally disturbed recently? I won't talk about you coming over in the morning covered in shit, but now you've come to stick a duck in our company as a security guard. Don't you think you have mental issues?" "No, no." Zhiziaduo said, "Xiang Cheng is a great world-saving hero. Believe me, you won't lose out doing this. Going now, bye-bye." At 10:30, Xiang Cheng rode his bicycle around to the front of the Shaxian snack store. Kuang Desheng was opening up the shop and stared fixedly at them. Xiang Cheng raised his hand and signaled him not to say anything. He borrowed the kitchen, and he and Zhiziaduo entered Yulan Lane. Under the eyes of a group of exorcists, they entered the office and put the employer's certificate and work contract on another director's desk. "Xiang Cheng." Director Lu put on presbyopic glasses and asked, "Have you found it?" Xiang Cheng said, "First I need to be affiliated and I'm applying for the temporary exorcism qualification." Director Lu pressed down the contract and said, "You first explain how this muddy body of yours happened." Xiang Cheng replied, "I fell during the investigation. I know what that thing is now." Director Lu nodded, gave Xiang Cheng a certificate and put the official seal on it. Xiang Cheng went downstairs to fill out the forms, told Zhiziaduo to wait in the yard, and then went out to take photos. Elder Chu looked at Zhiziaduo, and Zhiziaduo smiled and greeted him. "Elder Chu, have you had breakfast?" Zhiziaduo asked while carrying soybean milk and fried dough sticks. Elder Chu didn't answer. Zhiziaduo took care of himself and ate. The sludge on him had already dried out. Xiang Cheng stuck his dark photo onto the form, handed in the form, and was given a temporary exorcism certificate for transient members. Xiang Cheng folded it, put it in his pocket, entered Director Li's office, went downstairs, and said to Zhiziaduo, "Let's go ba." Zhiziaduo asked, "It's done just like that?" "I'll take you home first." Xiang Cheng said, "Take a bath and rest." They've all been informed, and the exorcism committee will hold a meeting immediately. I don't have to attend. In the lower reaches of the Pearl River, in the depths of the other side of the drainage pipe, black smoke flew over and swept through the air, revealing a man kneeling on the ground, roaring with pain and rage. "Ah!" The man's voice reverberated through the sewer. Zhiziaduo was so sleepy that he couldn't think clearly. After finally getting back home, he directly started to fall onto the sofa with his entire body covered in sludge. Xiang Cheng turned around and grabbed Zhiziaduo around the waist in a classic tango position and pulled him back. "Take a bath first." Xiang Cheng whirled him into the bathroom, undressed Zhiziaduo, and turned on the hot water. Zhiziaduo immediately woke up completely. Were they going to take a bath together? Xiang Cheng took off Zhiziaduo's clothes but then went out again. Zhiziaduo nearly had a stroke and died. Standing under the hot water tap, he felt the water was a little hot, so Xiang Cheng should be boiling water outside to soak their clothes in and wash them. A moment later, Xiang Cheng entered the bathroom completely naked. Zhiziaduo's entire face was red, but the bathroom was filled with steam, so Xiang Cheng didn't notice his face. Zhiziaduo got out of the way and let Xiang Cheng get under the water. "I'll scrub your back," Xiang Cheng said. Zhiziaduo was embarrassed to death and didn't say anything. He felt Xiang Cheng's hands rub against his back with a towel, producing a lot of bubbles. Zhiziaduo was already hard enough to explode. He lowered his head, his back to Xiang Cheng, and his head throbbed with waves of blood just like it had a few times when he was drunk, his mind buzzing away. His love was sometimes big and sometimes small, just like his heartbeat pounding away in his mind. The bathroom quieted and there was only the hualala sound of water. They didn't speak. There was just the hot water, skin, the creases of the skin between his palm and Zhi Xiaoduo's back, and the peppermint smell of the shower gel moving over him. Tired? Xiang Cheng's voice asked behind his back. Not bad. Zhi Xiaoduo's breathing was a little heavier, and he said, just a little, hard to breathe. I'll give you a massage later. Xiang Cheng said, relax a bit and wash yourself clean first. Zhi Xiaoduo felt lightheaded and closed his eyes. He didn't know why, but an idea appeared in his mind. In the end, will this memory also be erased? The steam rising in the bathroom amidst the hualala sound of water was like the sudden rainstorm outside the window, covering the whole city. The sky and the earth all went grey, and Zhi Xiaoduo turned his head to look and saw the water dripping slowly down the window. Ah, it's raining. Zhi Xiaoduo said. Xiang Cheng turned his head to look at it. It's raining. Xiang Cheng replied and helped wash Zhi Xiaoduo's hair. The two of them stood under the shower, and his fingers ran through Zhi Xiaoduo's wet hair. Zhi Xiaoduo's mind went numb, and he felt so good that he raised his head and closed his eyes. I'll rub your back. Zhi Xiaoduo was still a bit erect, but now he already felt much better. Instead of the erotic feeling in his head from when they had first faced each other openly, there was now a kind of gentle and beautiful atmosphere. Xiang Cheng turned around. Zhi Xiaoduo felt his thing brush past him and it was hard. Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo stood under the water to wash off the bubbles and stood behind Xiang Cheng, working hard to rub his back. The naked muscles of Xiang Cheng's back were knotted, his shoulders carried a male sense of safety, his figure was symmetrical and every inch of his muscles were hard and lean. Zhi Xiaoduo scrubbed vigorously for a while, and he casually touched Xiang Cheng's waist. Xiang Cheng immediately grabbed Zhi Xiaoduo's hand. Tickles. Xiang Cheng said. Zhi Xiaoduo started laughing. Xiang Cheng held his wrist, and they twisted back and forth a few times. Zhi Xiaoduo was afraid that if they went on like this, he wouldn't be able to control himself from drawing close and hugging him. Thinking like that, he grew hard again. I'm done washing. Zhi Xiaoduo said. As soon as Xiang Cheng let go of him, Zhi Xiaoduo turned tail and fled. He went out to blow dry his hair, shook out the water in his ears and after a great effort, finally restrained himself. Xiaoduo. Xiang Cheng pulled open the shower curtain and said, help bring me a pair of my underwear. Zhi Xiaoduo got his underwear and went into the room without saying a word. Xiang Cheng came in after finishing his bath and saw Zhi Xiaoduo in pajamas, sitting on the bed with his knees crossed. He was leaning against the head of the bed, looking at his cell phone. Behind the window, rain flowed down the glass. What are you thinking about? Xiang Cheng asked. Nothing. Zhi Xiaoduo's face was red, and he looked up at Xiang Cheng and laughed. Zhi Xiaoduo was wondering if he could find an email account, write down all these memories of Xiang Cheng and himself together, send them to the email account, and then set a time for the email account to send a message to his cell phone. For example, 3 months later, or half a year later, his future self would be reminded of all of the things that they did together. In this way, even if the memories were removed, the feelings from this time could be recovered. But what was the use of that? Xiang Cheng should just be regarding him as a very good friend right now, a family member with whom he could talk to and share his troubles and happiness with, and a companion who could relieve his loneliness and who could be mutually relied upon. Xiang Cheng sat down, and Zhi Xiaoduo immediately switched his cell phone to a web page. Are you in a bad mood? Xiang Cheng asked. No, Zhi Xiaoduo asked with a smile, does it feel like that? Why aren't you talking? Xiang Cheng asked, you haven't talked much once we returned home. Zhi Xiaoduo replied, I'm a little sleepy. You sleep on your stomach for a bit. Xiang Cheng said, I'll give you an oil massage, and you can sleep after it's done. Zhi Ziaduo lay down and Xiang Chen, shirtless and just wearing a pair of pajama pants, bent over to look for essential oils. Zhi Ziaduo stared fixedly at him. If just now, Zhi Ziaduo had the slightest idea of finding a boyfriend, that idea had already been flung to the four winds because of Xiang Chen's serious expression and warmth. Xiang Chen's cell phone rang. Zhi Ziaduo handed it to him, and Xiang Chen went out to answer the phone. Zhi Ziaduo heard him say, "Okay, I'll be there at once." Sure enough, Xiang Chen came in and said, "I have to go out." "Take an umbrella," Zhi Ziaduo said, "the rain is really coming down." Xiang Chen nodded. They looked at each other for a moment, before Zhi Ziaduo said, "I'll go with you." Xiang Chen waved his hand and said, "They're about to start handing out missions." Zhi Ziaduo's heart lurched and he said, "Then you, make sure to keep safe." Xiang Chen changed his clothes. He was reluctant to use the clothes that Zhi Ziaduo had bought him, so he still put on the migrant clothes he had worn to subdue Yao before, took off his slippers, put on his bag and said, "I'll be back in the afternoon." Thunder began roaring outside as Zhi Ziaduo escorted him to the door. Xiang Chen rubbed his head vigorously, drew close, closed his eyes and touched his cheek to his forehead. "You sleep?" Xiang Chen said. "You must be extremely careful, Zhi Ziaduo said. "Don't worry, ba," Xiang Chen said and then entered the elevator. Zhi Ziaduo closed the door and began to write his memory entries. "My name is Zhi Ziaduo." Zhi Ziaduo said, "No, of course my name is Zhi Ziaduo. I'm writing it to myself, and, so there's no need to introduce myself." Zhi Ziaduo typed out a line, "Hello, I'm the you from the past." However he looked at it, it was filled with the panic and suspense of a science fiction movie, so he deleted it again, and replaced it with the sentence, "Don't ask who I am." This felt even more terrifying, so he finally decided not to waste time with the opening remarks and went straight to the point. "Xiang Chen is an exorcist," Zhi Ziaduo said to himself, "although it's very hard to believe, it's true. He's been hiding it from you for a long time. No, should I use you or should I use ine? Ah my god, what am I writing?" Zhi Ziaduo felt like two schizophrenic people trying to write a self-analysis of their schizophrenia. He typed less than 200 words on his cell phone, threw it aside, and stopped writing. Zhi Ziaduo fell asleep. Dimly, he had a dream. The tide rose and fell, the sea breeze blew, and as the wave hit the reef, it broke into tens of millions of luminous crystals and floated away. Every crystal reflected an endless world, which contained flowing time and childhood memories. Little Zhi Ziaduo crawled on the reef and turned his head back to call his friends over. His playmates were so far away that no one heard him. He saw a bottomless sea cave and climbed in slowly. In the cave lay a big black fish, slowly undulating and gasping for breath. From little Zhi Ziaduo's perspective, it was pretty much as big as a stranded ship. "What is this?" Zhi Ziaduo thought, walked forward and touched its tail. The tail moved, and Zhi Ziaduo was frightened and fell to the ground. "Wu!" the monster's voice echoed in the cave like a siren. With that action, its fish scales peeled off and blood seeped out. And on the monster's head, a light appeared. It went from a faint spot of light to a green light the size of a window. It was the eye of the monster opening up. Zhi Ziaduo trembled with fear as he went around to the other side, trying his best to figure out what it was, but discovered that it had another eye. It was completely clouded over, emitting black gas, and its eyelid was half closed around it, already blinded. You, what are you? Do you have a name?" Zhi Ziaduo asked. The monster didn't answer and slowly closed its eye. Zhi Ziaduo asked nervously and excitedly, "Are you a Yaogwai? Did you run aground?" "You." The monster's throat let out an asthmatic sound, like a huge bellows. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 19. Subduing Devils. Are you hurt? Who are you? Zhi Xiaoduo sensed that this Yaoguai probably didn't eat children. At least, right now, it didn't have the energy to do so. The monster cried out, "Woo woo woo," and Zhi Xiaoduo said, "I'll go find you a doctor, wait for me." That monster shut its eyes, but just as Zhi Xiaoduo was about to follow the path out, he found that the tide had risen, so he could only come back and sit down by that monster's side. "How about I push you back into the ocean, can you move?" Zhi Xiaoduo acted like someone with ADHD, he couldn't sit still, so he got up again to push the Yaoguai with all his might. The Yaoguai let out a strange noise and it turned its head slightly, its eyes blinking. Zhi Xiaoduo tried out every method, but he couldn't successfully send the Yaoguai back into the ocean. In the end, he could only give up and lean against the Yaoguai's body, looking outwards. This was a starless night and the sea breeze blew over him. The night sky was a patch of pitch-black darkness, causing one's hairs to stand on end. There, won't be Yaoguai ba. Zhi Xiaoduo was a little scared as he leaned against the Yaoguai at his side. The Yaoguai blinked and Zhi Xiaoduo remembered that it was a Yaoguai, but still, he couldn't help but feel scared and he hid behind the Yaoguai's back. The Yaoguai closed its eyes, plunging the cave into darkness, and Zhi Xiaoduo once again grew scared. The Yaoguai seemed to sense that, and every time Zhi Xiaoduo got scared, the Yaoguai opened its eyes. That way, there would at least be light in the cave, which caused Zhi Xiaoduo to feel a little calmer. Sitting like this, he couldn't fall asleep either, so he began to study this Yaoguai. Its body had rotted and its scales had peeled away, revealing the rotting bloody flesh inside, which gave off an evil stench. A propeller was stuck in its tail and its mouth, which wasn't completely clenched shut, slowly dripped green blood out. Zhi Xiaoduo stuck his head out to look into its mouth, only to see that half of its tongue had been exploded away by something. The Yaoguai's eyeballs circled before it glanced down, its pupils reflecting Zhi Xiaoduo's expression of unease. "I'm so hungry, and so cold," Zhi Xiaoduo thought. "Are Yaoguai edible?" For a Yaoguai of this size, eating a little bit shouldn't be an issue, but Zhi Xiaoduo remembered that sashimi could be eaten, and if he only ate a little, like how he would chew on a bit of skin that came off his finger once in a while, it shouldn't hurt the Yaoguai. Of course, he didn't dare to try it casually. The tide came pouring in, drowning the soles of Zhi Xiaoduo's feet. "The water's coming in," Zhi Xiaoduo said to the Yaoguai. "Are you cold?" The Yaoguai was still panting, hucky, but its breathing had already calmed a lot, as if it was afraid of scaring Zhi Xiaoduo. Zhi Xiaoduo carefully climbed onto the Yaoguai's back, avoiding the wet, cold tide. A moment later, he found something fun to play with. He could slide along the Yaoguai's head, down its spine and use it as a slide. The Yaoguai's eyeballs circled and turned to look up, following Zhi Xiaoduo's movements. Zhi Xiaoduo squatted on the Yaoguai's head. The sea water had already risen to the height of its tail and he could no longer keep playing on it as a slide. It would be too easy for him to fall headfirst into the water. Zhi Xiaoduo hugged his knees, peeking out from the crevice above the Yaoguai's head. Outside, it had started to rain, and on the surface of the sea, thunder and lightning entangled to connect the sky and the sea. "Will the sea water come flooding in?" Zhi Xiaoduo asked the Yaoguai beneath him. "Will it drown the two of us?" The Yaoguai let out a series of garbled gulping sounds as its eyeballs turned upwards. The water level was rising higher and higher and the tide was about to flood the entire sea cave. Zhi Xiaoduo laid splayed out on the Yaoguai's head in starfish position, blinking tiredly. After who knows how long, a series of tremors woke Zhi Xiaoduo up. That Yaoguai was actually trembling greatly under him, as if it was gathering its energy. Zhi Xiaoduo watched it curiously, before he suddenly found, to his great fright, that the sea water had already covered the Yaoguai's entire body. Even its eyes were underwater and all that was left was a small black-colored island at the top of its head. Zhi Xiaoduo, what should we do? Ah! You can swim away now? Can you take me out, too? The Yaogui sucked in a long breath of water, its lungs expanding, and it let out a stream of bubbles under the water. It slowly opened its mouth, and where its tongue had broken off, a light like that of the stars above shone from that point. It then turned into countless tendrils glowing with blue light that danced around and entwined with each other as they reached towards its head. Ah! The intangible tendrils of blue light acted just like arms as they came questing over to envelop Zhi Xiaoduo, wrapping gently around him as they reached out of the sea cave. The rainwater around the blue light flew away, before the tentacles reached out from under the water, holding Zhi Xiaoduo as they reached towards the very end of the crags, gently placing him on a large rock. Zhi Xiaoduo's entire body was soaking wet, and he looked to his left and right, sensing that he had been saved. Is anyone there? Zhi Xiaoduo shouted on the beach. In the distance, a tall, broad man came walking over. Is anyone there? Zhi Xiaoduo shouted. Bring me home. That person revealed his face, it was Xiang Cheng. Zhi Xiaoduo ran towards him, and Xiang Cheng spread his arms, kneeling with one knee on the ground as he picked him up. Without knowing why, Zhi Xiaoduo began to cry in his dream, and he tightly grabbed Xiang Cheng's neck, not letting go, burying his face into the side of his neck. I'm here, Xiang Cheng said. A flash of lightning shot by and thunder rolled out across the ocean, as if there were thousands of cavalry charging towards them. In his dreamscape, Zhi Xiaoduo sensed Xiang Cheng's burning hot body temperature, as well as the beat of his heart, separated from him by his shirt. Xiang Cheng kissed his forehead, and then headed down from there. Next was his nose, then his lips. Zhi Xiaoduo jolted awake and there was a crack of thunder outside that startled him greatly. Zhi Xiaoduo sprung up from bed, his entire face bright red. His pajama pants were covered in a slippery fluid. He actually had a wet dream. It must have been that he was too tired yesterday, plus the addition of the stimulation he had received during their shower. It was storming hard in Guangzhou, and blackened clouds covered the sky as if Judgment Day had arrived. Countless lightning strikes shot towards the 300+ meters tall buildings and above the Zhejiang Bridge, the storm shifted constantly. The sky at noon was so dark that it was like a dark night where you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. The Canton Tower, which touched the sky, attracted strikes of lightning from all around. Within that lightning storm, it turned into a magnificent scene to behold. The entire city was collecting water and all of the sewers were completely open to release the discharge of the flood. The Pearl River was flooding, and the torrent came rushing down from upstream, flooding the Zhejiang Bridge amidst the wild winds. In the rain, Xiang Cheng raced along in pursuit of a van, sending a spray of water up behind him. He whistled towards the sky, and Sea Goi spread its wings and flew to him, landing on his shoulder. One of the van's doors opened, and Xiang Cheng squeezed into it. He closed the door, and the world went quiet. The interior of the van was filled with smoke. Director Li, Director Lu, two thugs, and an old granny were all squeezed inside. The person driving up front was Elder Chu, and Chiwen turned his head back from the front passenger seat, saying, "Thanks to your help, the water monkey case has been closed." Xiang Cheng stuck the umbrella into the strap on the side of his bag and Director Lu, who was exhaling a stream of smoke, handed him a Zonghua cigarette. "This is Xiao Luo, Xiao Wen," Director Li said, "and behind is Granny Wang." Xiang Cheng turned around, bowing slightly to her. Director Lu continued, "She lived next door to Zhi Xiaoduo's old place and for a while before this, she and Elder Chu took turns trailing him." Xiang Cheng hurried to say, "Thank you, Granny Wang." No need, Granny Wang replied. "It was just what I should have done. Xiaoduo is a very good kid." Turns out that you guys were always protecting Xiaoduo. How long has it been? Xiang Cheng asked Director Lu. From when we found out, until today, Elder Chu said, driving the van along, wearing a pair of sunglasses. 3 years. In the beginning it was me and Granny Wang, and perhaps because that devil was afraid of the organization, it didn't reveal itself for a long time. Later, since you came, we figured we'd hand it over to you, and as expected, we've finally caught a big fish. Xiang Cheng felt a little uneasy, but he didn't say anything. Director Lu patted Xiang Cheng's shoulder and said, "You've done very well, Xiao Xiang." "I still don't understand," Xiang Cheng said. Zhi Xiaoduo could never recall where he saw the Chiwen before. "I also don't know why the Chiwen would target him. As for this, don't look too deeply into it," Director Lu said. "This fellow has already caused us too many troubles, and since we've found where it's gone, we just need to surround it and get rid of it as quickly as possible. The involved party is still at home." Elder Chu glanced at Xiang Cheng from the rearview mirror. "Yes," Xiang Cheng replied. "Brother Kuang went to go protect him, so unless this Chiwen knows how to split itself, it won't be able to hurt Zhi Xiaoduo anymore. But every day that we can't figure it out, I spend that day unable to feel any relief. It's too dangerous. I shouldn't have left the devil-subduing staff in this Chiwen's body. Very soon, you'll be able to ask it." Elder Chu turned on the blinker, turning out from the small alley. The Zhejiang bridge was blocked off by roadblocks, and the lights of the police cars flashed. The water of the river had flooded over the surface of the bridge, as if there was a huge, ferocious beast making waves in the midst of the river. Elder Chu pulled out his ID and handed it to the Special Forces officer, who checked it over. Chiwen grabbed the fixed handle on the roof of the car, asking loudly, "Has the scene been cleared?" "The scene's already been cleared," the Special Forces policeman said. "We're heading out now? It's up to you guys now." The roadblocks were cleared away, and the van backed up and turned around, charging onto the Zhejiang bridge. The wind and waves were fierce, and the world was pitch black. Lightning rained down from the heavens, and the river's unseen currents rolled under them. A huge wave came crashing down, sending the wires of the bridge swinging, and the van hit the maximum speed. "Begin," Director Li said. In the narrow confines of the speeding car, everyone ducked to the sides, while Xiang Cheng sat in the middle of the car, and he clasped his hands together, making a motion. A beam of light shot out from the darkness of the river bottom, shooting right into the sky. The devil-subduing staff stuck in the Chiwen's neck shook greatly, shining with a blindingly bright white light. That pillar of light sped across the surface of the river, passing through the bridge, rushing towards the lower reaches of the Pearl River. The van hit the railings, sending out an arc of snowy white spray in the pouring torrent of rain. The van doors opened, and 4 exorcists rushed out. Thunder pealed again and again, and a flash of lightning struck the unvisited skyscraper not too far away, which let off leaping arcs of bright light. Zhi Xiaoduo lifted his head and glanced outside before he continued to scrub at his underwear, his pajama pants soaking in the basin. At the security outpost of the Chunlin apartments, the rainwater swept away the bloodstains on the ground. Half of Kuang Desheng's body was sunk in the entrance to the sewers, his head leaned up against the floor bead at the side of the road, his electric scooter strewn horizontally on the ground. A pair of police boots stepped into the complex, the silt washing off in the water puddles. "Police," a man's voice said. "Here to investigate a matter, Building 2, Floor 6, Unit 3. The security guard opened the door, letting that man in. Zhi Xiaoduo's face was set in an expression of madness as he washed his pants, thinking that thankfully, he hadn't slept together in the same bed with Xiang Cheng, otherwise he really would have died of awkwardness. As the music played, he suddenly sensed some movement, and when he turned it off, he heard that someone was knocking on the door. But naked, Zhi Xiaoduo ran to the peephole, only to see Yang Xingji standing sopping wet outside. "Xiaoduo," Yang Xingji said. Are you at home? Ji Xiaoduo, wait a sec. Let me put on some pants. Yang Xingja. When Yang Xingja walked into the house, there was a puddle on the floor and the doormat had a pitch black shoe print left on it. Come in quickly, Ji Xiaoduo hurriedly said. You didn't bring an umbrella, right? How come you came running here? Yang Xingja took off his jacket and said, I just finished a case which just happened to be nearby and since it was raining heavily, I couldn't get a cab, so I came over coincidentally. Ji Xiaoduo brought him a towel so he could dry his head, and Yang Xingja sat down, saying, Brother Wang had me come by to check on you. He feels like you've recently had something going on. Where's your roommate? Ji Xiaoduo paused for a moment before continuing. He's gone to work. Ji Xiaoduo poured Yang Xingja a cup of warm tea and Yang Xingja smiled. Your new house is in a pretty good neighborhood, why didn't you let me come over? Ji Xiaoduo hurried to get a hairdryer for him and Yang Xingja undid his collar, revealing a black bloody hole on the side of his neck, which went so deep that the bone could be seen. Ji Xiaoduo brought the hairdryer over, and Yang Xingja's handsome face lowered to block the sight of the wound on his neck. The hairdryer was turned on, and it hummed as it blew Yang Xingja's short hair. Xiaoduo, Yang Xingja said. Do you still remember me? What? Ji Xiaoduo asked, turning the hairdryer off. What I asked you last time, have you come to a conclusion yet? Yang Xingja asked. Ji Xiaoduo smiled before turning the hairdryer on again. As it hummed, his emotions were very complex and Yang Xingja turned to look at him, as if he was waiting for an answer. ******. On the Zhejiang Bridge, thunder resounded and lightning flashed as Chiwen and the two other young exorcists stood on wooden planks, fighting against the wind and the waves, rushing towards the center of the river. Xiang Cheng stood tall and erect at the top of a vertical rod sticking out of the water. The wild lightning in the sky lit up his face streaked with rainwater and his hands moved as if they were harnessing an invisible power, moving with the ceaseless tides of the river as they churned along the center. The Chiwen finally couldn't hold out any longer and with a roar, it burst out of the water. Huge waves were sent up, and a colossal, pitch-black thing flew through the sky, drawing out an arc. Return! Xiang Cheng roared angrily. The devil-subduing staff hummed as it left the Chiwen's body, flying towards the ground like a meteor. Xiang Cheng caught it, then with both hands on the staff, he moved it to the side and flicked it forward, shooting out a streak of silver light that caught everyone's eye. At the same time, Chiwen roared, golden light to pierce devils. 3 spinning wheels of golden light shot out from the ground, turning into 3 golden rings, locking around the Chiwen's body just as it left the water and shot towards the top of the bridge. Xiang Cheng controlled the devil-subduing staff with both hands, his entire body bathed in silver-white light. Si Gui flew towards him, landing on one end of the devil-subduing staff, before turning into a ball of blindingly bright light that collapsed in on itself. It gathered at the top of the staff, and then shot out a brilliant light that began to burn the Chiwen. The Chiwen roared and wailed, and its rotten body emitted a surge of devil chi that dissipated into the sky. *****. The wild lightning flashed through the sky, wave after wave, as if the sky was about to fall down. A wild gust of wind, accompanied by rain, blew open the balcony door. Sorry, Xingja, Ji Xiaoduo said to Yang Xingja as he turned off the hair dryer. I already have someone I like. Ji Xiaoduo put the hair dryer away and asked, do you want to take a shower? Ji Xiaoduo ran to his room to close the window as Yang Xingja's face began to rot away. He said, do you still remember that year when you were 7, you promised me one thing? Ji Xiaoduo turned. Yang Xingja appeared behind the door to the main bedroom. All the blood in Ji Xiaoduo's body froze, and he let out a loud shout of terror. From head to toe, Yang Xingja gave off black qi and the bloody hole on his throat kept expanding, rotting, and spreading over his entire body. You! Ji Xiaoduo shrieked. Help me, ah dash! Yang Xingji strode forward rapidly, but the stone guardians on the bedside table suddenly took the forms of evil repelling beasts. Because Yang Xingji was not expecting it, he was immediately slammed against the ground. Zhi Ziaduo was originally thinking of racing past to the door, but the window behind him suddenly opened again with a huala, and the rain came pouring in. A gust of wind blew over him, before two black-colored hands reached in and tightened around Zhi Ziaduo's neck. The room spun 180 degrees in front of his eyes, before the pitch-black sky appeared in his vision. Zhi Ziaduo couldn't even get a gasp of air as the upper half of his body flipped out the window, and he plummeted down head first. Thousands of water monkeys were crouched outside his building, and now they swept like the tide towards Zhi Ziaduo, letting out ear-piercing screeches as they came racing after him. The black chi from Yang Xingji once again blasted outwards, imploding the stone guardians in the air with a hong. He then used the wall to pull himself to his feet, covering his murky left eye, his right eye shining with a weak green light as he began to chuckle evilly. On the Zhejiang bridge, Xiang Cheng slid down along the metal wires, his hands clenched tightly around the devil-subduing staff. The silver light had already turned into a huge net that enveloped the body of the Chiwen, its flesh and blood disintegrating, its scales flaking off and falling. With Chiwen as the head, the three exorcists each formed hand seals. The golden devil-subduing ring grew tighter and together, and waves of black water were sent up by the Chiwen. It was no longer able to escape to the bottom of the river, so it could only thrash about wildly on the surface of the river. The blood and chi roiled in Xiang Cheng's chest, and he expended all his effort to hold the Chiwen in place. The Chiwen raised its head, and an angered roar sent up a wave the size of a mountain. Thousands of water droplets reflected the torrential wave that could level mountains and empty seas, but just at this moment, Xiang Cheng's pupils contracted, and his heart skipped half a beat. Zhi Ziaduo. Xiang Cheng swiftly turned his head. Capture it! Director Lu shouted. The light of Xiang Cheng's devil-subduing staff trembled. The Chiwen had been waiting for this exact opportunity, and it once again left the water. With a flip, it broke free of the devil-subduing golden ring and the net of silver light. The surface of the river came crashing down with a resplendent, heavenly majesty that was impossible to stop. The waters of the river immediately flooded over the Zhejiang bridge, and the van swiftly sped up, sending up waves of water as it rushed towards the end of the bridge. Xiang Cheng pointed to the sky, and Si Gui turned into a streak of silver light that shot into the distance. In the next instant, the wall of water came crashing down, and the four exorcists split up and fled in the face of that wave. They rushed along the Zhejiang bridge, fleeing for their lives at top speed, running towards safety. With a flying leap and a roll to the side, Xiang Cheng made an arc through the air as he rolled into the Pearl River, plummeting down from almost 10 meters above. In mid-air, his hands formed a seal, and he sent up a spray of droplets as he entered the water. As soon as he sank into the river, the moment thunder boomed, Xiang Cheng drifted along with the currents of the river, as if he was hibernating, his entire body shining with silver light. Under the dark sky, Zhi Ziaduo's feet dangled in the air as a group of water monkeys hopped across the rooftops while carrying him. Thunder and lightning flashed overhead, and Zhi Ziaduo's consciousness began to blur. He saw a phoenix shining with silver light over the rooftops in the distance, and it spread its wings, releasing glowing powder that filled the sky as it flew, like it was trailing along a sea of stars. The water monkeys screeched wildly, and Zhi Ziaduo felt the restraints around his neck loosen. Si Gui Zhi Ziaduo struggled with all his might as he shouted loudly, before he suddenly opened his eyes, seeing Xiang Cheng's eyes through Si Gui. Si Gui dispersed all of the water monkeys, and in the end, the monkey Yao tossed Zhi Ziaduo aside as they fled in horror up the skyscraper across from them. Zhi Ziaduo began to plummet downwards from his position in the air. Si Gui flew over, circled, and caught Zhi Ziaduo, but just as it was about to rise, a streak of black chi shot through the air, hitting Si Gui. In the air, Si Gui shattered into points of light, revealing the form of a young fledgling. It fell onto the balcony of a residential unit, incessantly flapping its wings and trying to rise. Up high, the black chi took the form of Yang Xingja, who smiled hideously and grabbed Zhi Ziaduo's collar as he shot out from a skyscraper over 30 stories high. On the lower banks of the Pearl River, Xiang Cheng maintained his hand in the position for casting magic from beginning to end, and as soon as Si Gui was hit, Xiang Cheng opened his eyes, and his chi circulated backwards as he spewed a mouthful of blood out, where it mixed into the waters of the river. The storm was wild around him, and the lightning and thunder grew more and more intense. In the pitch-black sky above, the silhouette of Chiwen faintly appeared, as black rain floated towards the earth, accompanied by wild thunder and the crackle of a lightning blade of judgment. End chapter.